seriously. Well, companies, businesses, and state governments are now being forced to look internally at how they handle harassment in the workplace. Connecticut's governor just directed all the state's agencies to review how they handle this ongoing problem. I'm joined now by the man who signed that order, Connecticut Governor Dan Malloy. Governor, good to see you. Thank you for being with us.
Great to be with you, Alex.
So you're sort of getting ahead of the game, like we just talked to Julia about, to figure out not just the prevalence of sexual misconduct or sexual harassment, but whether or not the right processes are in place in the state government to actually deal with them. What do you know about it now?
Well, what I've charged all of our departments to do is to review those procedures and actually make sure they're being enforced, and then, quite frankly, make recommendations on how we could be even better at this. I mean, we started this in 1991 in Connecticut. We were one of the early states to do that. Having said that, in light of everything we've heard across the country and some of the most salacious things, I thought it was appropriate that we go the next step. Let's look at what we're doing. Let's look at how we improve it. Should we require more frequent training than simply when a new administrator or supervisor takes office? And then the other thing that I really want to get to the heart of is how do we change it for bystanders? If you're working in a department and you have a coworker who's saying the wrong things, who's acting the wrong way, how do we empower those bystanders who may not be the receiving that treatment but are seeing it? How do we improve the environment?
So now you're talking about cultural shifts to some degree, and that's where it becomes difficult to know how you do that. Do videos, do training, do pieces of training change what's bad behavior? When you're talking about a bystander or a witness to something, sometimes it's not about somebody losing their job, but it's about somebody saying, hey, this is not an appropriate work environment for 2017 or 2018. Do you have the expertise, or are you willing to go elsewhere to get the expertise to figure out how you create a cultural shift, a shift in thinking?
I think it's both things. I think we do have some of that, but I'm very interested in onloading additional video training, computer-based training. I'm certainly open to seeing every employee participate on a more frequent basis in such training. We really have got to get to the culture, to the attitude, to the workplace environment if we're going to maximize, these horrendous stories we're hearing about. If we're going to maximize these for the good, then we have to be at the top of our game, and I want Connecticut to be that state. Ran a rape crisis center for 11 years while I was mayor in Stamford. This is a deeply personal issue for our family, and we want to make sure that people in state government and local governments in Connecticut aren't just ignoring it, or aren't, saying how terrible someone else's behavior is, but rather understand that this is a personal thing. We all have a stake in making sure environments are good for all of our employees.
Well, when we were looking at some of the things that were going on in Congress, we were flabbergasted, really, to learn about the process for reporting sexual harassment or any kind of harassment in Congress. It is a system that is entirely designed to cause any victim or potential victim to think 9 times before reporting it, because you are going to walk into the lion's den if you do it. It is really stacked against people. How do we create systems which are fair? They're not encouraging things to be reported that didn't happen, but that are really fair to people who come forward and say there is something wrong with this work environment.
Well, you're getting at exactly what I'm trying to get at. How do we change the environment? How do we make a snide remark so outlandish, so over the top, that people realize that they've got to report it, or they've got to say something to Tom or Mike or Susie or whoever, that they've got to make other people uncomfortable that they would be exercising that kind of behavior. Right. And I, listen, again, the most salacious things of rape and assault, those are crimes, and they should be prosecuted. But I'm talking about the environment. No woman, no man should be made to feel uncomfortable about these issues in their workplace. How do we raise it to that level? And by the way, when we finally get this done, it'll be done for all time. And I suppose that's really what, as a dad, as a grandfather, as a husband and wife, my wife and I have been involved in this issue for years. This is a tipping point. How do we make it better for everybody?
And you a report by February 1st, so you want this pretty fast.
Oh, I don't sit around waiting on things, and I have asked for a complete review, all departments, overseen by our Department of Administrative Services, and I want to report the first week of February. And quite frankly, if we need to change any statutes, I want to be able to have that part of our statutory change platform or agenda.
Governor Dannel Malloy, good to see you. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
Governor Dannel Malloy.